Hello all, I'm Craig from Economic Board Games and welcome. Today I'm taking a closer look at Foundations of Metropolis. What a beast of a game. I've been very much looking forward to this one for a long time. It's based off Foundations of Rome, which is a massive sprawling old game. Didn't quite capture my imagination with the theme of that one, but bringing Metropolis with commercial aspects, prestige, businesses, money, right at my alley. So we're going to sort of bring you an overview, and in this one you've got this main board here and we've got the two-player setup. So it's a very rather sprawling board actually, so I've managed to just squeeze it in the camera view so I'm covering a little bit of the outside, but you can flip the board for 3 or 4 players. Each player's got their own sort of player mat here, and these fit really nicely into the box as well. They've really thought carefully about how to snugly keep these intact. And on here you've got a host of buildings you're aiming to build. Now you start with 6 plot cards, and those look like these here. So you've got a big letter and a number, so you can see we've already distributed them, and there's 6 each for red and yellow. You then kind of split these into 3 years, so you'll play the game out and they're sort of evenly split, it says roughly, and then you're going to dish out 6 of these from year 1. And you are ready to kick off. Now, the first player starts with 5 money, second player 6, and so on, with the last player getting slightly more. And what you're going to do on your turn is literally 3 things. This is your turn guide, and literally you can, on your turn, do one of the following actions. You can purchase what are known as lots from the board here, and that's sort of buying a deed, and it's going to cost you 2 all the way up to 10, depending on which one you need. Because say for example me, I'm yellows and I really need D5 because I want to make, a building of size 2. I'm looking, is a D5? No. Is there E6? Yes. So I could maybe hopefully attain this one. But if I'm astute and I'm not really making people aware of what I'm after, maybe this will creep down in price, because as these ones get bought, these ones are funneling down. So it's a tough game as to when to spend your money. You could equally go and construct a building. So maybe you've got the land out here. At the moment, you've only got a load of ones, so you could only build some of these little ones, and there's no cost for doing so. And I'll come around to what all the different buildings do, but you need the plots of land in the right sizes and shapes to be able to build the various buildings. And how are you going to fund all this? Well, the last option is gain income, which is basically you get 5 money standard. That is your basic income, plus any income visible on your player board. So as you reveal these, let me try and get some of the commercial ones. You can see not only is it going to give us victory points at the end of a round, but also 1 money. So if we did income now, we get 5 money plus the 1. So I really like how the board, you can visually quickly see the income you're getting. And it kind of showcases on these as well what the benefits are underneath, so you're not constantly lifting them up and guessing. So for example, this is some large residential. It's going to give you free money. Ta-da, free money. I guess the only thing you didn't know is how many VPs you're getting at the end there. Some of them are population as well. And this is all kind of tracked on here. So you can see your victory point tracker as you go along, and you've got your population. So population is important because it's going to be scoring you a lot of points, and that'll make a lot more sense at the end of year 1. So those are the 3 things you're doing. So let's say player 1 is like, right, I want to get some more income ready. They take 5 money, they've visually got nothing available, done. Play passes on clockwise. Next player wants to buy, what shall we say? We've got A4 maybe for red. Yep, A4. No, have we got A3? No, C3, F2. So you can't, F2, perfect. So, oh, well, I say perfect, it's $10, so maybe they're not going to buy that one. Maybe they're going to build actually. So you can see they've already got this sort of 4 in a weird row, and they're going to go and build this triangle one here. And let's just assume this is red. So I've got red to the side. So they take this and they literally place that on there. They take these tokens off, and these tokens are actually going to go back on your board. So let me just assume it was yellows in that case. You take the 3 yellows, let's say yellows are there, take them off, pop them back on here, and that's great because you need these plots to be able to put these out. If you had all these out on the board, you've got no more, you can't take any more deeds, you can't physically put any more out to get the plots. You have to be mindful. If these are all sporadically around and you're not really thought carefully about which land you're owning, you're going to struggle to get them back. So you're trying your best to get, maybe 4 here, and you've worked hard to get these cards, and then you can get this one out here. And that's how you cycle these plots back. And then you can, use them again to get more land. So now you can see if this was the case, hypothetically, I've completely broken the rules there, but we could be getting free money and 5 BPs during scoring. So that is the free actions. It keeps going round. And as I say, when someone buys one of these cards, so we've demonstrated income. You look at your board. If the yellows did income, now it's 5 money plus 3 is 8. We've demonstrated building. You need the plots of land. So now buying a deed then. Let's say yellows, it's come back around to them. They want to buy B6. They pay the 6 money. They put this in the hand. They then put this on B6, which is here. These shuffle down and a new one comes from year 1. So you got loads of goodies there. Now all the cards are in here. There's no variability as to some aren't out there. They will all appear, but whether they're in year 3, we don't know. So B6, you keep these aside. So if there's any disputes over which land you own or you forgot, you can always look through your deck. Now, once year 1 has been depleted, so they've all funneled through, and these have all gone, that will trigger the end of a round. And it'll go back once more round, so everyone's got a chance to do some income or maybe build if they want, including the player who actually triggered the end of the round. And then you kind of work through the year 1 instructions here. So basically, commercial buildings are going to gain money. So you don't get the 5 money, but you look at your board, and let's say we'd revealed these ones here, and they're out on the board somewhere. And we're just making this up as we go along. So let's say that was the case. So we're going to score money. We've got 3 money in, 2 money here. So that's 5 money. Great. You're developing you've built, the whole game is about building developments, making money to get prestige and get a better population. You're developing this metropolis here, and you're setting the foundations. And that's the theme of the game. So you've scored your money. You're then going to gain victory points equal to the values revealed on your player board. So all these ones here are going to score you victory points. So 8 in this case. Great, you go up. You're then going to score the civic buildings. So these are known as like civic buildings and government buildings at the top. And they've got a host of benefits which kind of remind you on the back of this summary guide. So you've got citizens, you've got coins, you've got any building which is represented by this sort of townhouse, civic buildings and prestige. So why these are important is because as they go out onto the board, depending what is adjacent to them, you can't be diagonal, you're going to potentially score points. So this sort of government building here is going to reward us with 1 victory point per population. That's yours, your opponent's, it doesn't matter who it is. So at the moment, this is connected to 1 there, which has got 2 population on. So that is 2 points. So there's a host of them. You've got some that give you victory points per 2 population, some based on buildings around you, others on government buildings, others on commercial. So there's a host of little things to go for. And it reminds you on the board here so you don't forget to score something up. So that's where you're going to score your civic buildings. You're then going to score your residential buildings. So if you have put population on the board, because you can't just build commercial buildings and there's no population to go there. So as you build population, you keep track on here. So hypothetically, the reds have 2 and they're going to go here, and reds have 4. So at the end of the round, you are going to set, and it reminds you all on it, everything is really clear cut of this game, which is excellent. It says you look at the track and the player in first place gains their current position plus a bonus. So they're on 4, so they're participating. You have to be on the board to get points. They're scoring 4 points, and there's a population bonus from round to round. So currently it's 4 points. 4 plus 4, 8 prestige. Whoever's ahead on year 2 is getting a bonus of 7 and a bonus of 10 in year 3. Now, interestingly, the second player is going to score points for population depending on where the first player is. Now, you can have scenarios where, the red player in this case, they built loads of population up. They're on, let's say, 15. And the yellow player is like, I'm fine, I don't need to worry about it. They will actually score 15 points. They're not going to get the bonus, which is, a big upper hand for whoever's first. They're getting this 4, then this 7 and 10, which is a lot of points in this game. But yellow might have different strategies. They might want to go for commercial buildings, but that's functionally how you score points for second, based on the player ahead. Equally, the third player will score wherever the second is. So it's kind of this, trying to keep up carefully with what your opponents are doing, but you don't necessarily have to, as long as the first player isn't too far away from the second player, or the third player is not too far. So that's something really interesting you don't see in many games. You are then going to reveal from year 2 these 6 cards. You pass the starting player token to, I think it was the left of the player who last triggered the end of the round. and you carry on. Eventually, you're going to work your way through year 2, work your way through year 3, and year 2 is exactly the same as year 1. There's a few more points there. Year 3 is pretty much the same, but you will actually score victory points for anywhere that says money. So here, 5 VPs, and this would rather give you money because it's not worth anything. It's going to be 3 victory points. Now, that is functionally the game. And you might be thinking, oh, excellent, I'm just building a few buildings, getting a bit of income, getting VPs. But the depth to this game, folks, is outstanding. It's next. It's with games like Acquire, like Shark, where the game develops. And what I mean is, number one, you're trying to balance keeping up with your opponents, as I've just described on this population track, which is really unique and very clever. Secondly, on the board, the state of playing competition to manage your income for one and the money on hand, to have the purchasing ability to get the cards you want is great. Your opponent's looking at what you need, you're looking at what they need. They might buy a card they don't necessarily want. You are waiting for it to get a bit cheaper. Maybe you haven't got enough to pay the 8 and you've got the 6, and you've got this constant struggle of, I need the land. I then have to build something at some point because I need these tokens back. And there's a very clever twist in this game where it's not rigid. Once you've built, that is it. You can actually overbuild. Now, how that works is, let's say yellows have managed to acquire some more land here. You can actually overbuild by a larger building. So in this case, we've got a building size 3. We couldn't just put a 2 here on it. We couldn't put a 3. It has to be a bigger. So how that works is, we maybe wanted to build this one here. We then take these 2 off, we take this one off, we plonk that there because it's bigger than the 3, and we just put this here to remind us we own that property. This actually goes back on our board, so yes, you've maybe not got as much money or VPs from on, but you've built a bigger building. Doesn't necessarily mean that's the best thing, but in this case it's adding 6 more population if you're eager to catch up with your opponents. So as you remove and you add, be careful of adjusting the population and being mindful of your money there. So that is fascinating. Now, there's another level to this, and that is, as you change the landscape here, you're changing potentially the scoring conditions here. Well, not necessarily the scoring conditions, but how much they're going to score from those conditions. If your opponent, for example, has this one here where they're scoring 1 point for every 2 population, and that was located there, you've just built a residential massive, some kind of flat there with a big tower skyscraper with 6 population. They're now like rubbing their hands going, excellent, I'm getting 3 victory points off you. That is unlikely. You're more likely to change it from something, let's say, well, I've got one of these from over here. They're going to score 1 point for every commercial money there. And you can see if that was next to this one, they would score 3 victory points because that says free money. They get 1 VP per money. But if it had have been here, these guys have now constructed something different. The reds are missing out on victory points due to the change in the development and the building. So that is another level of craziness to think about. And that is pretty much the depth to the game. Now, I've played this 2, 3 and 4 player, so I should have had at the beginning of the game. It does play 2 to 4, and I'd say it's medium complexity because there is a few bits, but it's very streamlined in terms of what options you're doing. One of the 3 is great. And it's going to take you about 60 minutes, I would say. But 2 players surprisingly works really well. It's competitive. It's not necessarily this push and pull. There can be moments where you're just doing your own thing. You've got certain land and then all of a sudden it gets competitive for these, or there's a bit of a race to do these, or the cards are running out, or you need the income at the right time because you've maybe got 2 income and your opponent's got 10 and they're going to get some cards and you need them. So it works well with 2. And it gets better at 3 and even better at 4 because the map gets bigger. So overall works really well with the player counts. Now, I love games like Acquire and Shark, and this has a very similar vibe. But what this does slightly different is it offers a great experience at 2, which you can't achieve in Acquire. And you can at Shark, but it's not as good with 2 in Shark. Where this game is probably not as strong is with the 3-4 player count. For me, it's still excellent, but I still probably prefer Acquire and those other games over this. But overall a really solid game. The production quality, the way the components are laid out, the inlays here, the simplicity, you know, you could teach anyone this, and it's a game you could play over and over again with its very abstract nature. Everything's visible and you can just have a lot of fun. Give it a go, guys. And it's such a smaller version of that big sprawling, you know, Foundations of Rome. This is an excellent business commerce game in replacement of that. Enjoy.